Now this is the brand new 2024 Lotus Emira First Edition in magnificent Hethel yellow. Now the engine comes from a Toyota, more on that later. Now the power goes to the back wheels through a manual 6-speed or an automatic like the one I have gearbox. Now the car weighs just over 1,400 kilograms, so it's quite light, nimble, and a great ride. It's kind of been tuned the way Lotus think it should be tuned, and it's quite simply one of my favorite cars I've driven till date. Well, let's get to the interior, shall we? Now, once you get in here, the most noticeable thing for chaps of my size is the abundance of space. Now, over here, I've got plenty of headroom, and I've kind of read and found out that the whole reason behind that is because Lotus want you to be very comfortable in here, even with a helmet. Of course, this isn't a track car. However, you can take just a track and really burn some rubber in it. So, you know, they've made it suitable so that you can wear a helmet in here. In terms of the materials, in terms of how chic the interior looks, yes, top-notch materials have been used. They've really upped it from the predecessor. I mean, let's get to the steering wheel. Wonderful suede here. You've got Emira written right in front of you. Some of the dials and buttons and things you can recognize. Of course, now this brand, Lotus, is part of the Geely Automotive Empire, which also owns, well, of course, Lotus. They've got Polestar, they've got Volvo, and an array of other cars. So you've got these little bits from Volvo. You know, these dials are recognizable from Volvo. These are also recognizable Volvo, and a couple of little bits over here, but that's just economies of scale. That's, you know, nothing to frown upon. In terms of the quality in here, it really does feel very premium. It feels very updated. It feels very much 2023 and onwards. The infotainment, great infotainment, very intuitive. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are both integrated in here, so you can, you know, use all that kind of stuff. Very quick, very clean, top notch there. The AC controls are analog over here and over here. The stereo control is analog. The gear shifter is magnificent. Now, of course, this is an auto box. In the manual box, you can actually see a lot of the mechanics. In the gear, you can actually see when you press the throttle from your mirror here, you can see the throttle kind of go up and down from the you know, from the mirror here. That's also really nice exposed feel. But back into the cabin, great cabin. The ignition is rather interesting. So you've got this jet style protection here. You got to lift that up and then you turn it on. You got your drive modes over here. In short, you know, you've got KEF, which is a very premium stereo system. You got a KEF stereo system here. A little bit of storage in the back. That's great. Just all around wonderful cabin. Emira over there, Emira First Edition over there. It just feels premium. And one of the most one of my favorite things, let's say, is the amount of space that you have here and the how in control you are. You can really see behind you. Mirrors are great. You can see those air vents through the mirrors, which is magnificent. Just all in all, wonderful cabin. And these seats, of course, they're kind of bucket seats, but they're not hardcore racing seats, so they turn out really comfortable. And you've got this two-shade thing going on. You got suede, suede or Alcantara would be one of them, and then really nice leather, and you've got this exposed stitching as well. All in all, wonderful, lovely cabin. Now let's come to the engine of the Lotus Emira. Now this is a 3.5 liter V6 taken straight out of a Toyota Camry, but what Lotus have done is they've supercharged it. They've brought up the horsepower to 400 horsepower. It'll produce 420 Newton meters of torque, and it will actually take this Lotus Emira from 0 to 100 in just 4.3 seconds and all the way up to 290 kilometers. That is a massive speed. Now, some might say You know, some might feel a little underwhelmed that this is a Toyota Camry engine, but you'd be mistaken. The Toyota Camry is one of the best cars in the world. The engine is very rugged, the engine is very reliable. As a matter of fact, in Dubai, I once spoke to a very nice taxi driver, a gentleman, and he told me that the RTA, as a matter of fact, changes the Toyota Camry at 1 million kilometers. So that kind of gives you an idea of how reliable those engines are. Lotus have taken them, they've boosted it up to 400 brake horsepower, and in fact have developed this engine into a Pocket Supercar engine, as I'd like to call it. There will of course be another 2-liter 4-cylinder option. I don't know if that'll come to the UAE, but I'm not very concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the V6 that we have here. What a wonderful engine. Now, in terms of steering, this car has hydraulic steering, much like the rest of the Lotus range, and it makes it feel very, very much natural, very organic. You feel very connected to the road. You feel very in control of the car. It's a very natural kind of steering, and I simply love it. You know, around these tight bends, around these challenging roads, it's a pleasure to drive this car. It's absolutely magnificently handled, of course, and then once you put metal to the metal. Now, if I was to tell you a little bit about the performance of this car, the performance, I'd have to classify it, or rather sum it up, as just right. Because you see, when you're in a car that's 700 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower, it's all well and good, but when you're driving it in the city, for example, or on these lovely windy roads for that matter, you know, you put your foot down and all of a sudden you're right there, you're right at the edge of the speed limit. With the Emira, however, it has enough power. It's a very playful, it's a very fun car. It's absolutely magnificent to drive, very poised, yet the power is enough, but not over the top. So you can really put pedal to the metal, not break the speed limit, still enjoy yourself, still really enjoy what you would get out of a supercar or a hypercar for that matter. And that's why I'd like to coin the phrase Pocket Supercar for the Emira, if that is a suitable one to do so, because it really, really, in my opinion, it really, really sums the car up. Now let's get to the drive modes. You've got this drive mode flicker control switch right in the middle, and you get 3 drive modes over here. So you have Tour, which is more of a kind of a leisurely drive if you're in that GT mood, you know, you're going between cities, countries, whatever that might be. Then you've got Sport, and it's got a bit of explanation. You see, Tour says simplified performance, which I must agree. Then you have Sport, it says enhanced performance, which I must agree. And then you've got Track, ultimate performance, which I must also agree. You see, then you've got the ESC control off, and all sorts of driver aids are switched off when you engage a track mode, just like you do in many other cars. So I rather like the Sport mode. It gives a nice beefy exhaust noise. You've got peak performance, and it's quite controllable. Look at that. Let's enjoy that in second gear down these wonderful mountain roads. And the brakes are nice. Downshifts are perfect. It is just a complete pleasure to drive this wonderful car. Around these corners, it really, really is a lot of fun to drive. You feel so in control with this hydraulic steering. It's a very natural steering sensation. You feel that the tarmac, the car, the suspension, the engine, they all kind of come together like a perfect plan comes together, and it just makes the drive all that much more enjoyable. And that V6, really, you know, it hasn't got that roar of the V8, but it's got that special V6 kind of, I want to call it induction noise, I guess. It really does sound wonderful. You know, with every car that I bring here, and so far the Jebel Jais, I brought the 718 Cayman GT4 RS, I brought the SL55, I brought the McLaren GT, and now I've got this wonderful Lotus Emira, and each one is an animal on its own. Each one has attributes that kind of conquer this road in their own way, and I love bringing each and every kind of sports car and supercar to this lovely mountain road, because it really can give me a you know, an equal comparison of how I like which one, what I like about one, what I don't like about the other, you know, how they handle these wonderful roads. It's just a great place to drive here. Now, in terms of driving, the steering is particularly interesting, because this car, of course, has hydraulic steering like many Lotuses have always had over the years, and it really makes it feel very natural, very organic, very connected when you drive. There is no disconnect between, you know, yourself and the tarmac. It's very well handled, and there we go, almost ran over that chap. Now, I think one of the most important things that Lotus got right with this car is the balance between the engine, the weight, the balance, the you know, the power, how it all comes together, plus the wonderful materials that they use, the high quality finishing. All of it has come together in the perfect manner, and they've managed to really produce a car for the next part of the 2020s that's fast, that's luxurious, seems reliable. Of course, we'll see that in the coming years, but it magnificently, I mean, you know, it's quite simply a magnificently put together machine, and a great ride. What a pleasure to drive. You know, I seldom say bad things about cars, you know, because I just think modern automotive technology is so good that, you know, modern cars are just wonderful, especially cars of this stature. But Lotus have really managed to, and I'm gonna coin that phrase, have managed to create a pocket supercar that gives you the thrill of a supercar, that gives you the excitement of a supercar, that gives you the quality and the prestige of some of the world's best known supercars, yet comes at about half the price, and you can really enjoy it by pushing pedal to the metal, really pushing the limits of this car. So, you know, as a final word, this is quite simply a wonderful car. Highly recommended, and a lot of fun. Let me show you how much fun.